On this week, we cover CNBC's insight on how the Bitcoin ETFs are performing. We also cover the new tax laws introduced by the Netherlands, Kevin O'Leary's case against BitBoy, and also SBF's new plea for innocence. On the AI side, we cover the SaaSpocalypse and the Petri dish realization. We also cover our trading competition, and maybe this week the markets are a bit more of a bloodbath than they were last week. I don't know. Stay tuned. Find out. Like, share, and subscribe because that's also the only way that we grow. Thanks. Welcome to the NFA Podcast, your weekly podcast where we bring you all the news and market insights to not make financial decisions when it comes to emerging technologies. We're your host, Frackers and Niche, and the A stands for anyone else listening. So welcome to our new episode. We are on episode 3, season 2 of the NFA Podcast. In case you're new here, we do weekly news and insights. We talk about crypto, AI, and some cool little tidbits, and touch on political climate situations because obviously they affect the market, but we try not to. And yeah, let's get to it.
All right, let's start with the news because Niche has got a whole bunch of news. If I'm looking sideways, it's not because I'm bored, but it's because my laptop's there that I'm reading off from. It's my script is there with what I have to read. So you had news from CNBC. What's going on?
I do. Well, over the last 3 months, I mean, obviously the market has been a bit uncertain, and CNBC put out this really nice piece.
Sorry, what? The market's been a bit uncertain.
Tiny bit. Wee bit.
Sorry. 25% drop in a month, and
yes.
You call it a little bit uncertain?
It's tiny bit uncertain, right? And the tiniest amount of doubt that fills up the market, but realistically. Okay. So over the last 3 months, the IBIT shares, the Bitcoin Trust has seen approximately $2.8 billion in net outflows. But over the last year, the BlackRock ETF has attracted almost $21 billion in net inflows. So it's just good to put into perspective here. That's why I say a little bit uncertain. Okay, now over the last 3 months, the spot BTC ETF experienced a $5.8 billion in outflow, whereas in the last year, across all spot Bitcoin ETFs, the inflow still remains positive at about $14.2 billion. So just
so
zoom out.
So what you're basically saying here, like things are great. But that's your news. Your news is things are good. What's your point here? Is what I'm basically saying.
The point here is to zoom out. I know that markets feel really uncertain, like with the fear and greed index. We'll get to that later. But we hit 5 last week, and that was the lowest that it had been since June 2023. But look at the difference in the climate, right? You're looking at that was a collapse of FTX, of Celsius, of Voyager, of all of these different Lunaterra, you name it. Versus now, when we're actually seeing regulation come in and net inflows, and we're in a positive landscape. So the fear and greed index does not match the climate that we're in right now.
If you look at it from a macro perspective, like zooming out, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess maybe I'm too price focused. Maybe I'm too focused on short-term price gains. So it was, did you say 21 billion were the inflows in the ETFs for Bitcoin?
Yeah. In the last year, the BlackRock ETF has attracted almost $21 billion.
Yeah, and then 2 billion was the outflows now in what, the last month?
Last 3 months, 2.8.
Oh, 2.8. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hopefully it comes back in again. So my news was completely different. So in my world, there was something called, I have to read this. That's why I'm looking at the screen. The SaaSpocalypse. What a word. So basically the whole story is that new version of Claude by Anthropic is so good. It allows basically AI agents to code themselves. And part of that software release was coded by AI. And that spooked so many investors because they think that all these software companies that make money on SaaS, software as a service, with these monthly price per seat based on how big your company is, how many people use the software, they're getting these, really high prices with extremely high margins. That's what the investors are afraid of is ending now, and that we're going to this thing where you basically pay for the performance of agents, let's say booking or task completed, instead of a monthly subscription fee. And that's why these software companies have had this huge drop in valuation. And yeah, what I see here, the hardest hit, listen to this, Niche, Intuit down 11%, Accenture, well, it's also consulting, but software services, 10, Adobe, 7.3, Salesforce, 7, ServiceNow, 8%, Microsoft down 5%. And this happened in a few weeks. So yeah, ha 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 ha. It's almost 300 billion in market cap lost. And it is something now, and that relates to my other piece of news before we go back to yours, but it is related to this whole story about this guy. I don't know if you're the guy called Matt Schumer. He released a 5,000 word blog post. It was read by 83 million people on Twitter.
Wow.
83 million in a few days. And basically, his warning is that AI development is going so much faster than we anticipate, which is what triggered this fear in the market sell-off. And that not just software jobs are going away, but every sector will be impacted by AI. And this will be a bigger impact on the economy than COVID, is what he says. What do you think? I was really curious.
So at the end of December, I had a paper that was published on AI and medicine. And we basically looked at AI as a diagnostic tool for a certain disease that happens on the mouth. Now, what we found was that the AI tool was as good as experienced clinicians.
And clinician, is that a word for
better.
doctor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So anyone that practices in a clinic. Yeah.
And the AI was already at the level of experienced doctors.
Yeah. There's a moth in my room. It's
Don't
like
worry.
flying around. But yeah, it's quite interesting because right now this is just the starting point for AI in medicine. Wait till it gets to the point where it can predict disease better than clinicians. That's when you have a real problem.
I sort of half agree with Matt Schumer. I do agree that the development of AI is going much faster now than it did 2-3 years ago, and that improvements are there. I just don't think it will reach many industries as quick as he thinks it does. So I could be wrong. I think long term, yes, he's completely right. I don't think it will be that short term, just because of how conservative people are, especially old white men in leadership positions. So
you'd be surprised. To be honest, I think it was 2014 that I had read the stat that technology was moving so fast at that point that in the 4 years that it took for a technology student to graduate, they would already be outdated with technology. We've gone so far past that. That was 12 years ago. Imagine where we are now. So I feel like the growth has been exponential, absolutely exponential.
I agree with that. I mean, I think that like the digitization in the 80s, like computers coming into society, everything become digitized. And then in the 90s, internet, I think this is the sort of third wave with AI on top of that layer. And that is definitely a societal change. Will have huge impacts. I just don't think it will go as fast as people thought. I'm still stuck on the Epstein files. I can't help it. I didn't want to put it in the news, but I'm still, how can this... It's not even news to people. I'm like, Bill Gates was emailing with Jeffrey Epstein 7 years after the guy was convicted and confessed for child pornography. The guy confessed to soliciting sex from a minor. This is a child we're talking about, not a minor. That doesn't do it justice. It's
really
a child.
Makes you question so much about the world that we live in. You know?
And also, do you also not think it's not just tech leaders that Epstein was involved with? I know it was scientists also. Stephen Hawking went to his island. Stephen Hawking.
I know. Yeah.
What was he going to do on that island? Monsieur, stuck, his wheels would get stuck in the sand. There's so many questions I have. I mean, and these people, these tech leaders, are now running AI, and that's what I find so worrying. I don't know if you heard that OpenAI disbanded their safety team last week. That's another little tidbit related to this. Yeah.
No, I completely missed that because of Anthropic's chief safety officer, one of
So
the safety members. He resigned.
so yeah, the same exactly. So at Anthropic, there was related to it. One of the senior scientists left,
Hmm.
also very disgruntled, very angry. And at OpenAI just dismantled their safety team. So their safety team was already like a shadow of a real team, and now it's just gone. And now he became like the chief futurist, the guy who ran safety with Sam. Anyway, it's just I'm becoming this old, disgruntled man that's just complaining about tech leaders. But I do think it's worrying. Like Zuckerberg, this whole I don't know if you have the picture of that dinner with Mark Zuckerberg and Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, at a
Hmm.
dinner with Jeffrey Epstein in like 2016 or something, but like way after his conviction. You're wondering like they have no morals, right? If you and I would have
No,
been
of course
invited to a
not.
dinner with Jeffrey Epstein, would we have gone?
Probably not. To be honest, I don't really care for. I don't know. I guess I have a different set of values, and that's the only way that I can actually justify actions here. Because if not, it just makes me so angry. But the truth is that we have a different set of values to a lot of other people, and for people that will do anything to make it and to get power, that's their play.
Yeah.
So speaking of
Anyway,
Holland, they
yeah.
introduced a 36% tax on unrealized gains this week. That's going to start in 2028.
Yes, it's unbelievable.
Unrealized
It's
gains.
true.
What?
I know.
Like with such a
Uh,
volatile asset, imagine having to pay tax on Bitcoin because it touched 120, but you didn't sell. What if it's at
and
$7,000?
and the worst part of this whole thing is it was approved by the lower house in Parliament. It still has to go through the Senate, but it probably passed there as well. The crazy thing about it is you pay tax over unrealized gains and a really high one. So assume that, let's say you own stock or you own crypto, right? At the end of the year, and it's gone up, you have to pay 36% over and you haven't sold, you still have to pay 36% tax over that value increase, which doesn't make sense, which means you have to sell to be able to pay the tax, which is just insane. So again, it doesn't make sense. It's unfair, and
It's like
I don't know.
they've purposely put a ceiling of growth with with people that are actually trying to get better and learn investing. So it's really frustrating to hear. I'm American. I know the tax game really, really well. It follows me around the world. I have to choose where I live really carefully because some countries I would have to pay dual tax, and so when I see taxes on unrealized gains, and it makes me a bit angry because it's like we're all just trying to get better, and the government's supposed to
It's
help you get
unfair.
better. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's unfair, right? You haven't sold. Now, if you sell it, like in the US, you have capital gains tax. That makes total
Hmm.
sense. When you have capital gains, you pay tax. And no one would be
Exactly, and
against it.
that's
I haven't.
fine.
uh, Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then you can debate how much it is. But this
Hmm.
system is just insane. And this is, no, I don't even have words for it. Anyway, what are you? I hope you have some other better news.
I have some entertaining news. Okay, so
I need it.
Kevin O'Leary has officially won a defamation case against BitBoy. Now, if you don't know, BitBoy was one of the biggest influencers in around 2021. Even before that, 20. Sorry, I believe he came
It's
up
okay.
around 2017, and really made it. By 2021, he had like about a million subscribers. All of a sudden, he freaked out and, according to his team, relapsed on drugs and ended up posting about Kevin O'Leary. And finally, Kevin O'Leary has won that case. And it's now been about over 2 years. But he ended up winning $2.8 million. And I think that's quite interesting because I'm not sure how he's going to get that money. I know that BitBoy went through such an implosion of his life that he lost his business, he lost his business partner. Now he's been sued by Kevin O'Leary and lost the case. Um, I don't know how he's going to get paid for this, but we'll see what happens.
How old is BitBoy? Like it sounds like someone who's 12, but I'm probably completely
I
wrong. Probably
believe,
like he's 44,
I believe
44
he's
or
like
something.
40. Yeah, he's like 40 or
Really?
something.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, like
okay.
he's
And
gone gray now. So
hey, the best people go gray, yeah? Come on. Stop trashing the gray
he,
people.
But
and Kevin
no,
O'Leary is the Shark Tank guy, right? He's an investor
mhm,
and big on
Mr.
crypto. And
Wonderful. Yeah,
is that his
yeah.
nickname that he gave himself, or what his wife calls him?
I have no idea, but all I know is that he's also known as Mr. Wonderful. Now, what was interesting is the article that covered this also spoke about his relationship with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried from FTX. Now, what was interesting was that when FTX collapsed, Kevin O'Leary said that he would back SBF in all future ventures. Now, in the last month, SBF has been tweeting again. His mom has helped him file for a new trial over the FTX fraud charges. Um, he's representing himself at this point, and he has new evidence to warrant another trial. So let's see where this goes.
You think there'll be another trial? Will they do it again? No. He's convicted. He's
Uh,
in prison. I think it's a done deal, right?
Apparently, as long as he shows that he has compelling new evidence to warrant another trial, they will go to a retrial. But from my understanding of what I've seen on Twitter, he's blaming Caroline, his ex-girlfriend, for forcing him to sell.
Yes, that was her. It was all the woman. We all know it. We're totally behind SPF. Stay strong, brother. If you think I meant that, then watch more of these episodes. What else you got? This was your positive news, which I really think is funny that you thought this was
It was
positive.
entertaining.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's very
And
entertaining. Yes.
yeah, I mean, there's still that whole feud on X about Binance and the whole, does Binance have enough funds? And a lot of influencers are coming forward saying that they were offered to get paid $25,000 to post negatively about Binance. A lot of influencers that did post negatively say, I wish I got paid, but no, I will keep fighting Binance for the rest of my life. So it's just an interesting dynamic. We have no idea what's going on. Proof of reserves do show that Binance does have enough funds to, handle withdrawals from everyone. But I just think that the entire sentiment around it is really interesting. And at this point, everything that comes out by Binance is being broadcasted. Like Richard, the new CEO, he went on an interview and he said, yeah, CZ still calls all the shots. That went viral. So
Oh,
it's
I
just,
didn't know that.
yeah. Yeah, it's quite interesting. It's an interesting dramatic
And
saga
then
going on.
over the weekend, I sent you some links. Like there were a lot of people coming out and sending me messages that the same story was going around about Coinbase, that they couldn't do the withdrawals, blah 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 blah, and it was all nonsense. It turned out. I mean,
Hmm.
it was. I don't know where that suddenly came from. It looks like someone who's not Coinbase and not Binance is spreading these kind of rumors. Makes you wonder
Fear
who it is.
spreads. Fear spreads so fast. Honestly, so fast. It's like a car accident, right? All the cars will slow down just to look at the mess that's happened, rather than minding their own business and going about it.
Americans have
And
this
that's the same
beautiful
thing.
phrase for that, right? Rubbernecking.
Rubbernecking. Hmm.
I love that phrase.
I know
It's
it's
a
my
great one.
favorite.
All right, let's move on to markets. We have some major market news. So I'll just go really quick over the 5 major stock market indices. The broader economy S&P 500 is the only thing in the blue, which I still think is amazing. Normally tech was always way up, right? So that one's up for the year, 1.4%. But if you look back now, we're like 6 weeks into the new year, halfway through February. The Nasdaq is down 0.2. But what I found was interesting, the software sector, it's called IGV ETF, the proxy for software, down 24.8%. Oops. The
That's
AI
so
economy,
bad.
minus 1.7, a lot of AI software companies. But then what I call the picks and shovel index, SOX, it's a semiconductor index, up for the year 14.9%.
Wow.
I know. It is amazing, eh?
Where?
Yeah, but here's what I don't understand still. People are expecting the semiconductor business, so basically the data center infrastructure, NVIDIAs, you name those, to grow. But the only customers they have are in the end software applications and software layers developing on top of that. And they are going down. So
Because they're
unless
overpriced, they're inflated, they're the price, they're already priced in. That's my take.
And it's basically, sometimes they call them the FANG stocks, but it's basically, I always include Broadcom because it's in there in terms of market cap. But it's Amazon, Apple, Broadcom, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla. Those together, the biggest tech companies, they're all down. All of them, the whole chart looks like I'm doing it upside down. With Microsoft for the year down 17%.
It's so funny because I remember seeing this chart. Well, I've seen it in every script, right? And it's always positive. It's the first time where it's hanging upside down.
You think I did something wrong, right? I really, when I made it, I was like, did I type it wrong? I double
That is
checked it.
so
No, everything
funny.
is down. With Amazon also down 14%. And I have that in my portfolio because I do think they'll be great. Anyway, yeah. So in the crypto market, we have this, what is it called? This is the S&P 500 of crypto, the Bitwise 10.
The Bitwise, yeah.
10,
The Bitwise 10 crypto index fund. In the last
Did
7 days, down 10.8%, and year to date, 24.2%. Ouch. Industry basket, that data sharing ETF block, is down 1% in the last 7 days and 5% year to date. The iShares Bitcoin Trust, or IBIT, is down 6.4%, and year to date, 25% also.
So here's what I don't understand. That's my question to you. So I understand why the software sector is down 25% almost, right? But Bitcoin is down exactly the same for the year. And I don't know why. I still don't understand why the sentiment suddenly got so negative for Bitcoin. I just don't get it.
We have
And I
no
don't think
idea.
anyone knows.
Now,
Right?
what was interesting is, okay, I'm going to jump ahead here to the fear and greed index.
Yeah.
But basically, the fear and greed index is at 12. Last week, it was at 5. And
On a
last time
scale
we
of 0 to
recorded,
100. But the scale is 0 to 100. That's the part that gets me. And we're at 12. I mean, it's like,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Now, here's what really gets me, right? This is the first time that it has touched 5 since June 2023, when FTX, Voyager, Luna, Lunaterra, and Silicon Valley Bank all collapsed, along with several other companies, major institutions. I understand then when it was at 5, but the price also dropped to that extent. This is the first time that the fear and greed index and the Bitcoin price are not exactly correlated. I mean, obviously there is a dip, but it's not as drastic as it was before when Bitcoin fell from, what was it, close to $70,000 to $12,000. Look at the difference that we're at. Now, what was interesting is that about 4 weeks ago, we got the first draft of the Clarity Act, and the fear and greed index hit 61, but the price of Bitcoin was 90,000. 4 weeks later, it was at 5, and the price was at 60,000.
Yeah. So that there's no real correlation there, right? I mean, it doesn't. So something else is driving Bitcoin price. Maybe it's also that consumers are not driving it anymore at all. It's just all, institutional money that's driving Bitcoin.
But
Apparently.
as you saw with the ETF inflows and outflows, they're not selling. The ETF holders are not the major source of sell pressure. It's the general crypto population.
I guess there's no buying pressure. That's very clear. There's very few people buying. I mean, there's no money going in, and also no new money coming into the market. I think that's really what's killing and what's hurting the crypto market right now. It's all people that are already in crypto, moving in and out and moving assets, which,
but it's just so
by the way,
interesting.
you think
Because
what's
now
interesting?
it's interesting that we're in a political climate where we have the first pro-crypto legislation in the US. Countries are adopting, strategic Bitcoin reserves and crypto investments, and everyone's racing to be the next big miner and so on. And here we are sitting at a fear and greed index of 5. Well, now 12.
Yeah, now 12. Well, yeah, it
Like,
doubled. Yeah, it's true. You're totally right. No, it's very odd. It is very odd. And I did see that somewhere an article over the weekend that there was a meeting at the White House about the Clarity Act, about the stable coins, where the banks met the crypto sector, and they left, and they were still unable to figure it out because the banks definitely don't want any kind of yield offering products connected to stable coins. So they're
Exactly.
still,
Yeah.
that's not resolved, that whole issue.
No, but we spoke about this, I think, about the time that the first draft of the Clarity Act came out. And yeah, they're just not in agreement. They cannot align on how stablecoin yields are going to work, because the yield that you get in crypto is so much higher than any bank could ever give. And so the banks don't want this regulation to come in. But to be honest, that's kind of where the sweet spot sits in order to pass this act. Both sides are unhappy, but at the same time, both sides are getting some form of benefit. And that's the only balance that you can get when you pass legislation like this.
Let's see how that plays out. It is very interesting to follow because it's obviously the first country in the world that's adopting this kind of or comprehensive crypto act. I have,
Exactly.
moving on to the trading competition, so we have to wrap that up. I only see red. Did you do any movements in your portfolio? Did you do any
I did.
changes?
I
What did you do?
invested, well, I didn't invest, I gambled into a meme coin, and I ended up doing a 300% return. The chart looks like the Burj Khalifa, which is why we do not ever share names of the investments that we do unless they're, well, that's why I don't share names of investments that I do, other than Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, and so on. Um, so now that my Solana holdings have gone up, but the price has still gone down, I am still at a loss overall of just about 11%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
I was actually looking at the trading competition chart, and I'm looking at Tracer and how it's up 135.38%. And I just, yeah, it's
Yeah.
the only
It's
thing that's carrying my portfolio. And the meme
same with
coin
me.
gambles.
Yeah, in my case, of course, to be honest, and just for full transparency, not only is it the project where I'm the co-founder, but it went down 90% from an initial super high. So when it listed on MEXC on December 9, it spiked from 0.0035 to 0.14. So anyway, with like almost 400%. And it dropped 90% from there after the second day, which very often happens with new tokens get introduced. And since then, it's been slowly and gradually been going up, especially with the upcoming product release. I think that is what's also really driving it. So yes, it's really great for the portfolio. I put $18, so 18% of my whole $100 in there, and I'm up 135%. It's true, but still overall, I have of my 9 investments, 5 are in the red. No, 6 actually. Jeez, and I'm at 115. So I made $100, $115, but mostly driven by Tracer. Bitcoin so far down, Ethereum, Solana, everything, and Amazon also, since I bought it, is 12% down. And the one other thing I have to note, that's the one I was looking for, ASML. That has to do with the semiconductor index. But the company is now, it's Europe's most valuable company. I think it's about 600 to 700 billion. The stock price keeps going great. This is despite not being allowed to export to China. Imagine if they lift those export restrictions for ASML, these guys will skyrocket like Nvidia has, in the sense that Trump lifted the export restrictions for Nvidia, stock price went up. But Nvidia, unfortunately, is down 3% since I bought. So long story short, my copper bet, that's one I wanted to mention also. My infrastructure bet on copper hasn't paid off. I bought in at 49.80. It's now at 50.7. Woo! You know, I thought
At
this would
least you're
go
up.
like, I'm up. Yeah. But
That's all that matters.
no, I am going to make changes. I'm going to make changes. But I still don't know what kind of changes. I think this whole, tell me what you think about this. What is the best moment to roll your other crypto over into Bitcoin? What is the indicator for that?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I have no idea. Because the crypto market can flip in a switch. It's just,
Everybody's talking about it. Like, should I hold on to my Solana? Should I hold on to my Hyper? Everybody's talking when
I heard
do
this,
I go back?
I heard this piece of advice a while ago, and it said, fear is always a great time to buy. This is not financial advice, just to be clear, but just take that how you will. You cannot go wrong with dollar cost averaging. You just cannot. Whether that's in or out, you have to dollar cost average. I gave my mom this advice not too long ago because she had invested heavily in BNB. And when it touched $1,200, I'm like, Mom, just take out a little bit. Just keep a little bit of profit for yourself, And she did. And today, yesterday when I saw her, she was like, thank you.
In general, it had nothing to do with that tip. She just said, thank you. Just for being my
She
little
said,
girl.
thank you for telling me to sell my BNB.
It is so sweet that your mom is into crypto. I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, she
Mom
is.
and dad? Dad too, or just mom?
My dad too, but he's a bit careless. Like he bought the Trump cards and made a huge profit. I think they're still up, but he cannot remember where he stored his Trump cards. So, so yeah. Both my parents are in crypto.
All right. So I think we wrapped up everything for the week. Next week we'll see how things are then. I hope things will be a little bit better. I am getting a little bit depressed with all these crypto prices just that keep dropping. I think the main reason is, Nisheta, I don't understand why it's dropping. I think
no one does. And that's the crazy part, because like I said, we've never been in such a bullish macro climate. And here we are with a fear and greed index of 5.
I know. Well, on that happy note, we'll see you next week for the next episode. Thanks so much for watching and listening.